5 beds for Bitsy. 5 beds for Bitsy. A puppy grows up. By Ian Munn. Illustrated by Elizabeth Webb. Or Marjorie Cooper. Bobby was awake very early on the morning of his birthday. He jumped out of bed, threw on his robe, stepped into his slippers, and flew down the stairs. "Happy birthday!" shouted his mother and father together, and there on the breakfast table were 3 birthday packages. "You may open one of them before you have your breakfast," said his mother. Just as she said it, one of the packages started to fall over. Then it trembled, then it shook, then it yelped. "I'll open this one," cried Bobby, and he couldn't tear the paper off fast enough. Out came a green and red fruit basket, and sitting in the basket was a fat little wiggling black and white puppy. Bobby picked it up and held it against his cheek. "A dog of my very own," said Bobby. "What are you going to name it?" asked his father. Bobby thought a minute. "Is it a boy or a girl?" he said. "It's a girl." "Then," said Bobby, "she is such a little bitsy thing, I shall call her Bitsy." That's how Bitsy came to live at Bobby's house. She was only 5 weeks old, so she had to be fed milk at first like a little baby. And being only a little baby, she got tired of playing every now and then and had to take a nap. Every time she felt tired, she would hunt for the little green and red fruit basket. She would climb into it, roll up like a little ball, and go fast asleep. When night came, Bobby wrapped a hot water bottle in a towel to keep her warm, and Bitsy curled up beside it in the basket. She slept in her basket every night. Bobby and his mother and his father thought she would go on sleeping in it always. But one night Bitsy tried to get into her basket, and she couldn't. So she sat down beside it and looked up at Bobby. "Why, she's grown too big for it," said Bobby's father. "You'd better let her have our picnic basket," said Bobby's mother. So the puppy went to bed in the picnic basket, and she had a fine picnic chewing it before she went to sleep. By now Bitsy had learned her own name, that it was naughty to chew up people's shoes, and that Bobby's bed was warmer than her own. But she had to sleep in the picnic basket until one night when she sat beside it and looked up at Bobby. And Bobby said, "Well, will you look at that? Bitsy is too big for the picnic basket now." "She may have my market basket," said Bobby's mother. So that night Bitsy went to bed in the market basket, and had a fine time chewing it. And still she kept on growing. Her blunt little puppy nose grew longer, and the spots on her legs grew bigger, and her hair grew curlier. One night she sat beside the market basket and looked up at Bobby. "Well, if she hasn't outgrown the market basket," said Bobby. "She may have my garden basket," said Bobby's father. So that night Bitsy slept in the garden basket, and every time she woke up she chewed on it some more. With every day Bitsy seemed to get smarter. She learned to go downstairs by herself, and speak for her supper, and to go walking with Bobby without getting between his feet. But she wasn't fat and cuddly any more. One night she climbed into her garden basket and tried to curl up, but she couldn't seem to get comfortable and kept bumping her head on the handle. Finally she sat up in the basket and looked up at Bobby sleepily. "Bitsy, don't tell me you are too big for the garden basket," said Bobby. Bobby's mother said, "I guess we'll have to let her have the clothes basket." So the clothes basket was tipped on its side, and Bitsy climbed into it and went straight to sleep. Soon Bitsy had learned to bring her ball back to Bobby when he threw it, and she learned to sit up and beg, with her big forepaws waving in the air. It seemed to Bobby that her legs were growing very long. One night she sat beside the clothes basket and looked up at Bobby. I never thought that in 6 months my tiny birthday puppy would be too big for the clothes basket, said Bobby. But Bitsy was too sleepy to wait for another basket. She just sprawled out on the rug and went right to dreamland, because Bitsy was a big girl now, and she didn't need a basket any more. The end.